So here's the deal. You see, every once in a while you're going to have to ascertain where a leak is coming from, and you do this through a process called tracing a pipe. So tracing a pipe essentially means you're going to follow the pipe back to a source. This source could be a water meter, it could be a hot water tank, it could even be a valve. But there are a couple of questions you're trying to answer. Number one, is this domestic water? Is it potable water? Can you drink from this pipe? Or number two, is this a sanitary or storm drain? Sanitary water goes to the water treatment plant. Storm water goes to lakes, rivers, and streams. Number three, what fixture does this pipe serve? Is it a riser that goes all the way up to the penthouse, or is it a vertical leg of a water closet? What's the purpose of this pipe? And number four, last but not least, can you isolate the pipe? Can you shut off this one pipe itself without affecting the rest of the building? And once you successfully get all that information, you're able to then tackle a repair. And you and I, peeps, today we're going to be tackling a repair. So peeps, this is the laundry tub in my basement. This is hot water coming in, and this is cold water coming in, and this is the direction that the water is flowing. So here's the question I have for you. If there was a pinhole leak right here where I draw an X, what would you do to start this repair? Well, we would do exactly as I said earlier. We would answer all those following questions and then eventually trace a pipe. So let's start off with number one. Is this domestic water? Is it potable? What does potable even mean? Potable means that the water is fit for human consumption. In other words, if you drink this water, it's not going to poison you in any way. It's been treated to make sure the human body can handle it if it's ingested. And the answer is... So yes, it is. This water is from the purveyor, which is another way of saying the supplier of water, and in this instance it's from the city. The city has an infrastructure that provides water to all the buildings in the area, and they also have the infrastructure to take that water away once it's used and get it cleaned in a water treatment plant. Let's take a moment to remember how blessed we are for this process to take place. There are places on the planet that do not have potable water, and they also don't have any means of cleaning it once they actually use it. That being said, let's go on to number two. So number two, is it sanitary or storm drainage? Well, this question has already been answered, but just to be thorough, it is neither. If you look at where X meets the spot, that water is called domestic hot water. That means it comes from the purveyor, it's been treated, and it's fit for human consumption. It is potable. Number three, what fixture does this pipe serve? It serves the laundry tub in the basement. And number four, can we isolate the pipe? And now we have to get on to tracing it. Okay, peeps, so let's run through what we're actually dealing with here. In theory, if we did have a leak right here at the X, we wouldn't be able to shut the water off here. This doesn't do anything. We would have to trace the pipe back and see if we have a valve. So let's go ahead and do so. We have the hot water pipe coming out of the laundry faucet, moving all the way across, hitting a 90, going all the way up, hitting another 90, and moving across the ductwork. As we continue further, you'll see it continues down here, and then it actually goes through the duct and it goes up vertically. Now you have a couple of options. Come over to the right. Do you see any pipe here? That's the cold water pipe. That's not the hot water pipe. So we're gonna move towards the left this time, and you'll notice that we do have a copper pipe which comes down all the way through here, hits this T, comes around, and goes down to the hot water tank. And if you take a look right here, the magic word that it says is hot. So now if there was an actual leak taking place right here, what I would want to do is find a valve that shuts that off. As you saw in the hot water tank, there is no valve for the hot water. One thing you ought to know, that whenever you install a hot water tank, you're supposed to put in a valve on the cold and also on the hot. And for some reason, when we bought this house, there is no valve on the hot water line coming out of the hot water tank. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna initially start a repair, put a valve in, so that if there ever was an issue with the hot water on the laundry tub, we'd be able to isolate it right there on that valve and then get that fixture done as we need to. But the question now is, how do you shut the water off to the house? So you got a couple of options. The first option is, you already know where hot is. You're able to find it on the hot water tank right here. The opposite pipe is cold. So what we can do is continue tracing pipes until we find the water meter to the house. So let's follow this pipe up. This is the cold water in. It does have a valve. If you follow this pipe up, you'll see it shoots up to the ceiling and it continues moving this way. As we come here on this side of the duct, you see the same pipe following further through the house all the way down with some insulation, and ba-bam, we got ourselves the water meter to the house. So whenever I get into a house and I have to shut the water to it, that's typically how I trace the pipe to find the water meter. First thing that I do is I find the hot water tank, then I look at which pipe is the cold water supply. A lot of times they'll say on the water heater itself. If not, then what I'll do is I'll run hot water in a fixture, see which pipe gets hot, that's another way, and see which pipe remains cold as well. I'll follow it all along until I find the water meter, and that's basically how I would do it. Couple of things to keep in mind. It's really easy to do this process when the basement is not finished, for example. A lot of times people have finished basements and those pipes are hiding behind walls. So sometimes you have to opt to ask the tenants or the owners, hey, do you know where the water meter is? And hopefully, fingers crossed, if everything is covered up, that they actually know where that is. So let's go ahead, shut the meter, install our valve, and get going. So I just pressurized the house essentially, got the repair done, put in a new valve, and here's what I want to show you, and here's what I want to talk to you about. The hypothetical that I gave you here was that there was a leak all the way on this pipe right here. So the issue I was going to run into was that every single time I wanted to do a repair on the hot water line in this house, I was going to have to shut the main to the house. Now, by putting in this isolation valve on the hot water tank, I can just isolate the hot water line. So at least if people wanted to drink water, they can have cold water. If they wanted to wash their hands, they could wash their hands with cold water. In this instance now, I could just shut the hot water. I don't have to close everything that's in the house. That's the advantage to putting in an isolation valve inside the house and on the hot water tank, essentially. So let's see this in action. Hot water currently is functioning good. If I come over here and shut this valve, hot water starts to drain, and now we don't have any more hot water. I can go ahead and cut this pipe if I needed to, replace it or put a new coupling in or whatever the repair was going to be, and then I could just go ahead and go back over to this hot water tank, open up the hot water valve, and we got hot water. Alrighty peeps, that's it for me. Just another day in the life of a plumber here with Molly. Do me a favor, for Cyber Monday we're gonna actually have a discount, 20% discount on the plumbing math course if that's something you're interested in. And also down below, if you look at the merchandise, it'll also be 20% off as well. Grab yourself some merch or some plumbing math, and I'll see you plumbers very soon. Kenny Molotov, guys. Peace, baby.